Hello, Ray. How are you?
Hello, ProZD, or can I use your real name? Can I use your real name?
No, you are allowed. I'll permit it.
Hello.
In fact, please never call me ProZD ever again.
But the name of the podcast is ProZD and Pals, and I thought, wait a minute.
What's up?
ProZD.
What's up?
ProZD is a word. Hold on a second.
You are correct. I'm gonna stop you short there. This has been a theory. It's actually not that. Although,
Okay.
honestly, if it were that, it'd be so much better than what it actually is, which I will not tell you. Because literally nobody knows except me.
And nobody
Not
knows
even
except you. I
Anne-Marie.
know you said that. Yeah, Anne-Marie doesn't even know. There's patterns of stress in a language is not what it is. Hello, Sungwon.
Hello.
It's good that we're out of character. We don't have to.
Yeah.
Play
Don't
it
have
up.
to continue the charade.
Yes.
Now, I did make a tweet with topics. Are there any you would like to address or talk about?
I would like to focus on my campaign, and any of these allegations are untrue, and I do not want to talk about them. No, I'm open to anything. You know what's weird is so we're filming this because we're in the same room.
Yeah, exactly.
We're sitting.
We're breathing directly into each other's mouths.
This is mid COVID, and recording this in a little booth, and I've gone a year without doing conventions, basically, and I did do one in the middle of the year, like a little Zoom convention, and people were asking questions, and man, it's a skill that you need to keep in practice, coming up with interesting answers, because I'd forgotten, like, people were like, what if this character and this character had a baby? What would it be called? And when you're doing lots of cons and all the questions, you're good at, you know, oh, yeah. Sire Denathrius and Alphonse would have a baby, and it would have a good sword. But
Yeah.
I'm out of practice. So you might ask me a question, and I might hem, and I might haw. So get ready.
Listen, that's all we want, baby. Is we want the all natural. We're not gonna edit this unless you want us to. I doubt you'd want us to for any reason.
No.
Unless we talked about something very controversial, which I'm sure we will not.
We will not.
I don't know. If looking through it, like basically balls in your court. We've been friends for a while.
Yes.
So in this sort of case, I actually like to let you take the lead. And actually, we are not obligated to answer any of them. And if there's just any topic you want to bring up or any questions you have for me, like, feel free. It is absolutely a two-way street here.
I love it. Love it. I'm on board.
So what do you got?
What does ProZD stand
All right,
for?
and the podcast, and thank you for being here.
I will say this. I think I will say something that I've never said to you, but I didn't.
Yeah, what's up?
I never watched your stuff until we were friends, and I was like, oh, I guess I should watch his stuff, and it was really good. But I had known about you. I had known, like,
Sure.
sometimes you'd be on YouTube related, and I would say, oh yeah, that guy again. But I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
And then we met at some con somewhere. And
We met at a con. Oh, Max was there too. I forget. which con.
Crunchyroll Expo in somewhere
Maybe.
California. That's what it was. And then somehow I found out that you were into board games. I don't know how that happened. Maybe Max told me, or maybe it was
I know how
Borderlands.
It I know how. I remember exactly how it happened. It was because I made a tweet that was just like, "Hey, mutuals, any of you want, like, board games I'm giving away?" And then you DM'd me and you were like, "You got any good 2-player games?" I remember this because, listen, friends are one thing, but board game friends.
Serious.
That's like a next tier.
Yes.
That's like, oh, we've played a board game together. Ah, I see.
We are blood
We are
board game
brothers
brothers.
now. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We are woven from the same cloth. So I remember exactly what it was because I was like, I knew you as well. Like, I was like, oh yeah, Ray. Yeah, he's a cool guy. I can tell he's like kind of nerdy. I mean, God, I didn't. Little that
You
I
didn't know the
know
depths. I usually don't show that side.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But I still could get a sense from like even some of the jokes you would make on Twitter. I was like, this guy is more than your average normie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like this guy knows a little too much for it to play
Does
off
he
as like,
actually watch the anime he's in? That's a slippery
yeah. It's
slope.
like okay, I was like, this guy at least knows his video games.
Yes.
When you because at this point, I mean, this is a compliment. The depths of your fucking nerdery.
Well,
are
okay.
just
Well,
insane
actually,
to
all right.
me.
Let's just put it on the table. This was when we really. This was around 3 a.m. One cold fall night. This. Okay, wait. Let's finish the story, and then we'll talk about when we talked about. We had our long conversation about early Windows and DOS games.
Okay, yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, so yeah, I guess just to recap into our.
So I DM'd you and I said, "Let's give me some games, some 2-player games for me and my
Yeah,
wife."
yeah. You were like, hey, me and my I think then fiance now wife. Like we're always looking for 2-player games. I was like, huh, this guy likes board games. Good to know. Social rank up or whatever, in Persona. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, so that's like always the first step is like, okay, you like board games. Now the next step is, are you actually a cool person to play board games
Dude,
with?
because there are some people who you sit down and they're a little too into the competition and it gets uncomfortable. And that
Exactly.
is not
Either
fun.
they get too angry, or I'm gonna be frank, some people are just annoying. Like you never know. And I'm gonna say it's almost never happened. I actually can't think of anyone where I'm like that person was annoying to play with. Because usually, if I'm going to, let's say, invite somebody over, I usually have a good sense of this person seems chill.
Yeah.
And if they're not, it's usually a big surprise to me. So, like...
Well, also, you're taking a chance. I mean, it's the same rubric. You're inviting someone over. So it's the same rubric that you don't want a knife-wielding maniac in your house. You wouldn't also invite them. Take a chance on board games. So, yeah. But yes,
right.
some people can be ultra-competitive, and it ruins the fun of it.
Mm-hmm. And there's a difference also between, like... playfully, like, riffing,
Trash talking,
and,
yeah.
Trash talking. But if somebody actually gets mad, that's a real bad feeling all around.
It's not great.
I think I've said this to you before. I'm pretty particular about like who I choose to like spend my free time with socially.
Cool.
And I like we've had enough not prawn nights and board game nights.
So you brought up the elephant in the room. Here's what happened this year. We played board games for a while, me and Sungwon. And then Not Prawn came up because of the COVID, and we were all at home, and what can we do? And Not Prawn is an old riddle from early 2000s that I played in high school with my buddy Ross, and I got what I thought was far. Maybe it was far for the time, but it ended up not being very far at all. And so we started a little elite group of Not Prawn solvers. This is a riddle where essentially you're trying to find the next URL in a long breadcrumb of URLs to get to the very, very last one. And on each page, there's some sort of clue somewhere in a file, somewhere hidden in the source code, in the picture when you put it in Photoshop and rotate it 20 degrees to the left. There's like all sorts of little weird clues that you can find to get to the next level. And there's 140 something, and we got to the third to last one. And I think we've lost all hope at this point, but we got very close.
I wouldn't
to the
say
end.
we've lost all hope. I would say we finally hit, because up to this point
We would always get
there's
through.
there's a forum, right, where like people are like, oh man, I got stuck on this puzzle for like a year, and we'd always laugh like, who gets stuck on one of these for a year? Like this took us like a week maybe, and I think we finally hit one of those. So it's gonna be a thing where listen, we're gonna maybe right now, maybe after this podcast, we're like, fuck it, let's get back into it. But it's gonna be a thing where we go, the spark will be lit. We'll like sit down again with the group and go, hey, let's just break it down and work at it, and maybe we'll have a breakthrough.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the spirit of Not Prawn, is it's always there.
It's always there.
It's always there, and people are still solving it to this day. There's no rush.
Yeah, that's true.
Just, we can always, it's always there for us. It's like, for me, COVID has brought me back to a lot of things I thought I quit, like Civ 5 or Cookie Clicker or
Cookie Clicker.
You know, like,
I've talked about Cookie Clicker on another podcast in depth, so
okay.
My true fans will know about the depravity of Cookie Clicker I've gone into.
And again, this is like, so I'm like, this guy is a real fucking nerd. He is doing Not Prawn and Cookie Clicker, and I love these things, so there's a definite like bond. But in one of our nights after doing Not Prawn, we were talking about early Windows games.
This was like at 2 in the morning, and we all realized we're all varying ages, us in this little group. But we were all reminiscing about those weird, because man, back in the 90s, it was a different time, and you would like, you discover something, and then it would just be inside you, and you could tell your friends at school, but you couldn't go online and like find out more about it. It would just be this mysterious day that you spent playing this mysterious game, and you haven't thought about it in 20 years until you're confronted with other friends who all have these same memories, and you realize, whoa, you played that? You played this? I remember, whoa! And then you go online and you find out all the things, you see what it looks like, and trying to find out names of things by only describing the game was really hard. But man, that was a big memory lane night for me, just going back and being like, wow, I forgot that I spent a lot of my elementary school days playing with Hyper Studio on the Mac. That was, I made little animations in Hyper Studio. What the fuck is
that?
Hyper
The one
Studio?
where you make like a website, quote unquote?
You essentially make a
one?
website, but you can trick it into making, like I would make a little animation, or like you would play a bunch of cards in a row. It's like linking all these cards together. It's kind of like a PowerPoint that goes in many different directions. So I made a choose your own adventure video game on my Hyper Studio back in the day, and man, if I could only find that again and be so disappointed in myself when it turns out to be not as cool as I remember it. But man, did I spend a lot of time doing that. And we found all of the CD Man we had all played at one point. It's just I guess I think I've talked about this in a couple of interviews where like I was a nerd growing up, but the wrong kind of nerd for this environment that we're in today, where a lot of people talk about shared experiences like, say, playing Resident Evil or Final Fantasy or things that I didn't play when I was a kid. I played the wrong games like Dare to Dream or Baten Kaitos Eternal Wings of the Lost Ocean, just things that don't have as much staying power or stickiness. So a lot of my last 10 years or so has been playing those games and getting to be a part of the community and being like, oh yeah, Resident Evil 4, what an amazing game. Wow, they really changed how you use a gun in a game. That's incredible, very important, but I didn't grow up with a lot of this stuff. I grew up with weird Ken's Labyrinth, Blake Stone Aliens of Gold, all the wrong things that nobody cares about. But
Here's the thing, though, when you find people though who know those things,
it's amazing. It's absolutely
it's an amazing
incredible
experience. I'm sure. Yeah.
And so that was that night. We all realized that we had a lot in common that we just couldn't share. You don't tweet about bricks, BRIX, because nobody cares. But it's out there. Raptor, Call of the Shadow. Oh man, we just kept going. DOS games are my jam.
I will say, as for the not genuinely, but for me, the only pure good thing about having any social media following is that it operates as my own private Yahoo Answers, where I can like, does anybody remember this one song? Like very recently, there was a song in my head. I just whistled it on Twitter. because I was like, I know this is from like an old VHS tape from my youth. I looked it up. It's not the one I thought it was. What is it? And within an hour, I mean, I got a bunch of terrible answers.
Of course,
and a bunch of people telling me I was wrong. Like, it's from Wallace and Gromit, and I'm like, I'm the one asking the question, bitch. Like, what are you talking about? I did not watch Wallace and Gromit growing up. And then one person, though, it's always one person was like, it's this. The sheer adrenaline of getting to watch it one more time.
Cyberspace.
But also making the connection
and getting to watch it
cyberspace.
too, yeah.
Yeah, but also like you and I think one of the craziest ones was there was this one. It was from a version of the Nutcracker, where it was a very scary part for me as a kid, where it was like mice going like mice everywhere, like snip and snap and eat. It's just this very like creepy like passage, and it always stuck with me in my head because it was so creepy. And I was like, what is this from? Because I've never been able to figure out is this from a cartoon? I saw this in school once, and do you know what it was from? It was from a orchestral. It was from the Minneapolis Orchestra's version of. They were playing music inspired by Maurice Sendak's Nutcracker book.
Wow!
And this was a VHS tape only in Minnesota, because I was born in Minnesota. So this was almost impossible for anyone else to know. If you lived in Minnesota as a kid, grew up
during this time,
and watched this one tape in music class, which I did, and one person, I was like, holy shit! This is why, because for years, I'm not kidding you, for like every now and then, okay, what was this thing? I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna do like quotes around it. I'm sure somebody out there has seen this thing, but I didn't make this up, did I? And then finally, I saw a TV tropes thread. I don't know if you're familiar with TV tropes.
I do know TV tropes, yeah.
Of course you do. And like it was like someone mentioned, and I was like, oh fuck, this is a lead. But the person on that thread also didn't know what it was. So I was like, okay, if one person,
but at least it exists. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, it exists. If one person remembers this, I'm gonna try on Twitter now. And my God, it happened, and it was crazy. I did not know it was a local Minnesota thing only. And I was like, the crazy person who was like, how much does it cost to get a VCR
and watch it again
and get this tape? Because it's not going to be on YouTube. So it's like, this is literally the only way I'll be able to watch this. I didn't do it, but I'm not going to pretend I didn't actually think about it for a second just to see what this. Funny.
Does it still frighten you?
No, I just remember how much it frightened me as a kid. So okay. What's funny is like if you go back and watch something you watched as a kid that scared you, it's never been scary to me. I'm always like, why was it?
I would disagree. I think like Little Pink Elephants still horrifying.
Really?
Night on Bear Mountain from Fantasia still horrifying. I don't know.
It still scares you to. Is it because though it scared you as a kid?
It's a good question. No, I think the same things that scare me as a kid still scare me as an adult. I think I just haven't really grown out of those things.
Interesting.
I've gotten better with heights, I guess. That was my big fear as a kid. I'm a little better now, but still I get cold hands. But yeah, I think it's just still always there in the back of my mind that I'm primed to find things
surreal
with black
animation
eyes like that. Yeah, surreal animation, scary. Yeah, I don't think it's gone away.
Pink Elephants is an interesting one because I never thought that was creepy as a kid, but I watch it now. I'm like, how did I not? Like,
how did I not find this scary?
Yeah. I'm like, this is very surreal and out of place. I'm trying to think of, this is kind of a good, like, a interesting topic. What things as a kid scared the shit out of me? Because there were definitely sequences and stuff that were made to be scary. Like, I'm sure you've seen The Brave Little Toaster, right?
Oh my God!
The clown firefighter,
my favorite. The clowns never frightened me. That was never a thing for me.
Are you kidding? It's like a clown firefighter. Have you? It just goes run. Like, are you kidding me? It is
That's not
supposed.
aggression is not frightening to me. Like I've never been afraid of monsters, uh, demons, things that are trying to kill you. That's like okay to me. The things that scare me are the things that get in your head and can't go away. Like super surreal stuff. I really don't like symmetry. I don't like things that are frozen and symmetrical. There was a New Yorker cartoon that was it's a guy on a couch, a psychiatrist, and a guy on a couch, and the guy on the couch's face is a Rorschach ink blot face, and it's just staring at you, symmetrical and frozen, and that shit gets to me. Like, it's not aggressive or anything, but it's just like right
Unsettling.
there, and I can't stop thinking about it, and it's very frightening and reminds me of death, and it's just like, that's very frightening to me. That kind of stuff gets me.
Wow. Okay. What's another segment from something as a kid that scared the shit out of you?
I'm trying to think of. There was I remember Lawnmower Man. Maybe I should rewatch the trailer, but I remember Lawnmower Man was a movie in the 90s that had trailers that were on TV, and I think it's about this guy who's like hooked up to something, and he's like, it's like virtual reality but like scary. But the logo for Touchstone Pictures that would play before the trailer, that's what frightened me because I knew the scary thing was going to come. So the little like Touchstone ding at the bottom was like, oh shit, bad stuff's about to happen. So I get afraid of that.
Oh shit! Like a fucking ring. What do you call it? Pavlovian response.
Exactly to the Touchstone Pictures logo. Yeah.
So do you still feel that now?
Does not scare me anymore.
Oh, okay. I was gonna be like, that'd be too bad if that still scared you to this day.
Yeah, I'm sure I could think of other things, but I can't right now off the top of my head. What about you?
No, those have been some good examples. I gotta. There's gotta be something because I was a chicken as a kid. What scared me? Like actually scared me. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Probably just because I blocked it all out. Here's one. This one's like pretty basic, but you ever watch The Great Mouse Detective?
No, we just watched The Rescuers. That's different.
Okay.
Not The Great Mouse Detective.
You absolutely need to watch The Great Mouse Detective. It's my favorite Disney movie. It's Vincent Price as the villain. It's amazing. That's
great.
So much fun. But there's a part where it's a jump scare one where basically there's this horrifying little bat creature in it who's just very scary, and he has like 2 traumatizing scenes. In fact, I won't spoil them for you.
Oh my god, I'm looking. I just looked up an image. Yeah, he looks. He's looking at the camera, baring his face.
Yeah. He's just this scary peg-legged bat creature who is the henchman of the main villain. He's got the little voice like this, So he's just very unsettling. It's Candy Candido, and it's just he has like a very scary scene as a kid for me at the beginning where he kidnaps a toy maker. And it's like you only see the shadows. It's just like him like assaulting this guy, but you only hear it in the shadows because it's like the perspective of the daughter watching it happen. And it's so much worse that way. It's like because you see
absolutely.
It's so well done. And it's the opening scene of the movie, and it's
my god,
it's like the perfect because like the movie is like, oh, the little girl goes to Basil of Baker Street, the detective, can you help me find my father? But the opening scene is so traumatizing, like because it's like this wonderful Scottish toy maker and his daughter, and then this horrible bat comes and takes him away violently.
And you're just not ready for it.
It's so good. And it's funny how much of a chicken I was as a kid, but I loved that movie. It's so dark. Like Vincent Price is like the Moriarty. He's this big rat like with a top hat. He's so fun in it, and there's just so many like dark, scary scenes in it. Like, I think you're gonna love it. Like, that sounds great. You absolutely need to watch it.
Yeah, we've been slowly watching the old Disney movies and loving the early 2000s Treasure Planet and stuff era. It's really good that not a lot of people talk about.
Great Mouse was right before the golden age, like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, but it was like the last good one. I think it was. Was it before Black Cauldron? Black Cauldron was the one that almost killed them because it was like a big stinker.
Like mid-80s.
Yeah. So I think Great Mouse Detective either was the last good one or it was the one that like saved them. I forget the exact order of events.
Gotcha.
But it's really, really good.
Have you ever worked for Disney on anything?
Yeah, I've done I think one or two of their cartoon shows, but I haven't done anything beyond that. How about you?
I do audiobooks for them. Like
cool.
A bunch of audiobooks. I got through it through doing video games with a guy named Kal-El, who's a great director who also worked at Disney, and then he brought me in for audiobooks. And so I do like Mickey and the Roadster Racers audiobooks and the Mandalorian audiobooks and like random stuff, but never a cartoons thing with them. But I'm thinking for you, as such a Disney fan, what a cool thing to actually work with them.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. You've done Kingdom Hearts though. That's like.
Oh yes, Kingdom Hearts. That is true.
Yeah.
I forget that is. It's, absolutely.
You're right.
My character is just so not Disney. He's so Square.
Right.
That I don't think of him as Disney. But you're right. Maybe that's a good segue because there were certainly a lot of questions about.
Sure. Is there a Kingdom Hearts question you want to tackle from the thread?
Oh, I don't have them in front of me.
Well, thank you for bringing it up and not being prepared at all.
I'm not prepared. I'm not memorized. I'm very sorry.
Then I will say, is there anything about Kingdom Hearts you want to talk about?
Kingdom Hearts. I'm so happy that I got to be a part of it because that was another thing I never was into as a kid. I didn't have the main thing was I didn't have a PlayStation, and I feel like for a lot of our generation, having that PlayStation experience, that's where all the great games came out.
Yeah.
I was playing Beautiful Joe on the GameCube or 13. That was another one I loved on the GameCube. But Kingdom Hearts never got into, and so when the audition came, it was very clearly a Organization 13 member. But I didn't know, I didn't recognize it, and he was like sarcastic and kind of funny, even though he looked really menacing. And I auditioned in my normal voice, which I never ever do. I have no characters who I use this voice for because it's not my normal voice is kind of hard to pin down like what, because you got to kind of find your archetypes in anime and video games especially. And this guy doesn't fit anything. He's not heroic, he's not villainous, he's kind of funny sounding, but not that funny. Not there. He's the funny guy. This is just a guy who's kind of lazy and has a New Jersey accent. But I just did my normal voice, and it got through. And what a cool character! Did you ever watch 2.8 or?
No,
were you
I
a Kingdom
did
Hearts guy?
Am I a Kingdom Hearts guy? I played up to 2.
Played up to 2.
Yeah.
Once Master Masters gets in, it starts getting good.
Okay, got it. Great.
He looks like Organization 13, but he's really like super sarcastic and weird, and he sometimes super loud and super quiet and menacing and turns on a dime and very different than most of the Kingdom Hearts deliveries are very, very, very gentle and slow kind of things. Whereas he's just my voice, and that's very
that's
bizarre.
great.
So
okay,
I really like
you get
playing...
to play more than what the typical Kingdom Hearts performance. I'll say that's
exactly.
Cool.
The whole movie is just him with all of these very serious guys who are the foretellers, or even in Kingdom Hearts 3, he's with young Xehanort, and everyone's just so serious. And then he's just saying, "Oh, you think that's gross, do you?" And he like changes his voice, and he's like, "Whatever." It's fun. And then sometimes he's like, "I'm also going to kill you." Oh, I'm just kidding about that. So like very fun and kind of a breath of fresh air for that series, I feel.
That's
and apparently he's going to be a bigger deal in the next one. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but it was funny. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories is also abbreviation MOM, Master of Masters, and he had nothing to do with it. So I missed out on. If I missed out on that, then maybe he's not in Kingdom Hearts 4. I don't know.
I think he's supposed to be important, from what I understand.
He's the Master of Masters.
I mean, with a name like Master of Masters, how can you not be,
exactly.
right? Yeah, like I have a friend, David. I don't know if you've met him, but he's
not Prawn David.
No, that's Dave.
Okay.
David. Yeah, I don't think you've, or maybe very briefly, but basically, he plays those games. He's played all of them, and it's like, as he loves ridiculous lore. So like he loves Metal Gear Solid for the same reason, right?
Dig deep. Yeah.
So he plays all the Metal Gear Solid games because he loves knowing all the lore. And Kingdom Hearts, he's like, yeah, no, it's ridiculous, but you know how people say if you play all of them, and it does make sense if you actually do play all of them. And I'm like, you are the first person I've heard say this where I actually take this seriously now. That actually, because anytime anyone else has said that, I'm like, no one fucking doesn't. There's no way.
No, yeah. I'm friends with Alexa Ray Correa, who used to write for GameSpot. She wrote a book on Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah,
she knows all of the lore, and she says, yeah, it does make sense if you really engage with it.
There is a actual lore, so that congratulations to you for being Master of Masters in that.
Yes, and I know almost nothing about that character.
It probably might be for the best.
Might be for the better.
Yeah.
I don't want to get lost.
Otherwise, you get too wrapped up into it. Now, you kind of brought up an interesting thing of using or not using your regular voice for.
Yes.
And I do. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but for me, I never do it because I get super self-conscious. Like,
yeah.
Like for me, like if it's just me, and especially the way I talk, like I don't talk in a way that any like character is, or at least in my mind, is going to talk, right? An animated character. An animated character, a video game character, they're always going to talk with one more better enunciation than I do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's always that, right? It's if I'm talking my natural, how I talk, which is so funny to me if people like say to any actor like, oh, that's just their voice. It's like, no, not really. Unless they just talk like a cartoon character all the time. Like any actor is gonna have just the version of the voice where their natural voice where it's just shooting the shit.
Have you ever done something in your normal voice?
I don't think so, because even I've done some stuff. It's not out yet, but I've done stuff where it's like, hey, it's very like quote unquote like real, like low key, no, don't put on a voice or whatever, like just natural delivery. Yeah. And even then, it's still not. It's still not you. It's still not me. It's still like a slight. I still tweak it a little bit. I think just because I think it helps me get in the space of I am this person, not me, right?
Not me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there's any character where it's any character that's not supposed to be just straight up me, like. Yeah, and I've never done like my own speaking voice as like someone who is not supposed to be me.
I guess it's also because we live kind of boring everyday lives, and the people we play get to kill other people and do like quest for glory and stuff like that.
Right.
So they get to speak cool in a cool fashion.
They always get to be like a way cooler version of you, even if it is something that's similar to your speaking voice. It's still going to be like the more charismatic or cooler version of you.
Exactly.
Now, here's a question for you.
Great.
What's a voice you've done that you would consider like the most far from your natural voice that you can think of?
It would be Master of Masters from Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
I feel like.
Got it. Yeah, it doesn't sound like you at all.
I liked one cool one was Wes Gleason. I'm always thankful, cast me in one of the few cartoons that I've done, which is Justice League Dark, and I got to play Etrigan the Demon and Jason Blood, who share a body.
Oh, that's a
And he
great
cast me
character.
as both of them, even though they have totally different voices. And I remember Jason Blood is here, gone, the form of man. Arise, the demon Etrigan!
That's
They're
great.
totally different. He had no reason to book the same guy, but he trusted in me. He didn't know me at all, and brought me in. And I remember when I walked in on this guy, and they were like, Wes, why did you cast this 27-year-old idiot? This is the wrong guy. And Wes just winked at them and said, watch and learn.
Right.
And I got to show off, and that was cool to play those two parts in one thing. And then now Justice League Dark 2 is out. I got to be Etrigan again.
Oh, cool.
Really, really fun. So those I feel like were pretty far off of, both of them were pretty far off my natural speaking voice, I have to say. I really like, here's one thing I want to talk about.
Sure.
Shout out to one of my favorite animes that I've ever worked on, Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise 2. I like it. I know nobody cares. It's free on YouTube. Go watch it. But I play Kazumi, who's one of my favorite characters I've ever played in my life. He's super high-pitched and super excitable, and like he's always screwing up. And he's so fun, and I love his character design. I printed out a picture of him, got it all framed. I just love Kazumi from Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise 2. He's my favorite. Nobody knows him, but it was so cool to play a part that was so different than what I normally play. So I'm really grateful for that. And we just finished recording last week. It's all over.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's also kind of an interesting thing. Like, what are some projects you've worked on where you're like, this was so fun or this was so good, but nobody's watching it or playing it? Like,
oh man, I mean, that's every day. Like, I feel like there's the Pareto Principle, right? Pareto Principle, which is the 80-20. So like everything in the world is 80-20. It's like you put in, you spend your time doing 80% of the work. You're known for 20% of it, or
for sure.
Things like that. Oh yeah, I'm on my Behind the Voice Actors page. I remember seeing, watching interviews with voice actors who'd been around for a while, and they were like literally forgetting roles, and I was like, how is that possible? And now I know it is very possible. I like Behind the Voice Actors because it has pictures. I was the main character in Anthem. Worked really hard on that, and then it became Anthem.
That hurt me. Like, I was like, my man Ray.
You wanted to like it?
No, I haven't played it. I was just like, I wanted you to get the recognition
something
for
out of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was like, because, that's so, I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And then I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, that is such a shame because, for my voice actor friends, I'm like, I want you to succeed. Like, you're my friend.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, man, that was a bummer to hear.
Sucks. I mean, it was really fun to work on. We had great directors. The working on it was great. It was just sad that the fans didn't seem to think so. And I scrolled through. I found one that I'm really proud of is and people do know me from this, so it's not like crazy obscure. But The Walking Dead, the final season, I played a character named Marlon, who I feel is one of my best performances that I've ever done. Really, really enjoyed working on that one. I did it in one 11-hour session.
Wow.
We went overtime, but we got it all. I think I had a con or something the next day or something, so we had to do it all at once. It was we recorded in the studio, I found out later, where Final Fantasy X was recorded in Studiopolis.
Oh, cool,
and I was like, wow, what an amazing place to record. But that guy, we recorded all in order, and he's very emotional, and I really enjoyed playing that kind of character. So thanks. I got to do some shout-outs to my favorites.
Yeah. Any more before I ask my next?
Oh God, I could keep going, but the problem with the unpopular ones is that they're unpopular. So
okay. I was just gonna ask. Now I know you do audiobooks, and I'm sure those are very long sessions, right?
Yes.
How long is one of those usually?
So I got my start doing audiobooks. I did about 200 in this 3-year period before I did voice acting proper. It was how I got out of bartending, essentially. And it basically takes about double what the finished work is. So if it's a 10-hour book, it's like 20 hours of work.
But how long is this? It's like a session usually. Like how long do you usually record for in a sitting?
So I would do them by myself. Using something called punch and roll, where you make a mistake and then you go back and then you roll through it. I would do. It depended how, because there's a problem where you're doing it by yourself because you have to be self motivated.
Yeah.
So if it's not so good a book, it was really hard to show up to work and get through them.
Sure.
And a lot of times you're like just wondering. There was one that I did where the guy just forgot to put verbs in the sentence, so you would his punctuation was all off, and so you'd just be reading, and then you go, oh, there was no verb in that one. Okay, let's go back, and so you'd have to go all the way back and try to figure out how to make this sound like a sentence, even though it wasn't a sentence.
Wow.
So it was they can be really hard. So I don't do too many of them.
Gotcha.
Days.
And then, so what is like because you said an 11-hour session. I have never gone that long. What is the longest session you've done?
When I was in my prime doing the audiobooks, I would do sometimes a 14-hour day.
But that was you though, alone.
That was me alone. Just because it was like, well. Because this was a time when Amazon was just saying, we want all of the audiobooks. We want to be able to say we have 100,000 audiobooks. So as long as you were doing it, there was always more work to be done. So I was just doing as many as possible. And sometimes it was like, all right, I have to get 7 finished hours today to start my next book tomorrow. So let's do 14 straight hours.
Damn.
And I would do that. But as far as an actual, I guess 11 hours is the longest I've done for a real legit session. That was probably, it's got to be the longest, yeah.
And that
what
was
about you?
To do, I think for me, like 6? I don't know, something like that. Like
6 has happened, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
I've done quite a few of those. But 11 is, because they got to pay you a whole lot of money to do it.
They got to pay you a whole lot
of money. That's why it doesn't happen very
it's
often.
usually, like 2 to 4.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why when I was like 11, I was like, "Damn, that's a long time."
Like, Sungwon, you and I are in the same ballpark as far as voices and roles that we get. That we like Max and I guess I'm comparing us to like Max and Robbie, who play a lot of high-pitched lead character guys. We usually come in and we're a villain, which means that our sessions are very short because the villain usually doesn't talk a whole lot.
Yeah. It's gonna depend on the session, but like obviously the Borderlands stuff. Those were
Borderlands,
pretty long.
You're going like crazy, yeah.
But yeah, and especially like if I'm just thinking now about just how long sessions go, it's usually cartoons are usually like not very long at all. Dubbing. That can take, and I don't do a lot of dubbing, but when I do, those have been a little longer. Video games are the ones that usually take the longest, just because there's so many lines, even if you are like not the main character.
That's true, because there's all sorts of different ways that they could use you instead of just seeing you.
Right.
What's your what are your?
Huh?
Let me see your BTVA. What do you do?
BTVA is not going to be the best. You're probably going to want to look at Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia.
Oh shit! You were in Gretzko.
Yeah, Gretzko was fun.
That was great.
Yeah, no. Even though Wikipedia doesn't have everything, but I know BTVA does not have like. Actually, I haven't checked it in a very long time, so maybe they.
It's funny what interests BTVA. They're like, there's some things where they're just on it, on the money, and some where they just they don't care for years.
Right. It's interesting.
My Boruto credit took years to go up.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, if you literally want to see everything I've done, I still have my Tumblr where I still update it, because that's literally the only place where you can see everything I've done. And then it was crazy. Somebody made a YouTube video that was just like every video game role ProZD's ever done or whatever, right? And I was like, I'm sure this is missing something. No,
but they got them all.
They got everything, even the stuff I kind of wished maybe they
nobody knew about.
Yeah. Like there was stuff I forgot about. I was like, oh, you're right. I did record a line for that. Holy shit! Like, I think I commented. I was like, well done. Like, this actually is every video game role I have done, including all the indie stuff.
You were Hwang Sung-yong in Soul Calibur 6, which means we had a bunch of scenes together. Because I play Mitsurugi, and that's right. DLC, it's just you and me. I did not know that was you. Very cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
You must tell me you were nominated, but did not win. In 2017, Shorty Awards for Vine of the Year. Please tell me, what was the Vine of the Year? Vine of the Year.
I think it was the... Was it just that classic? I don't know how familiar you are with my video stuff, but there's...
I've now seen quite a few, but not
interesting. Okay, I think it might have been the "You'll Never Save Prince Horace" one, something like that. Just like a very simple one.
You lost to The Laughing Fox.
Yeah,
Finalists.
Honestly, that year, I think the Vine that should have gone to. There's this one
when you're the main character.
Yeah, that one. But I think the Vine it should have gone to. There's this one with this Korean lady where she's dancing with her cat. It's so well done. I was like, that should have won. I forget what one, but it didn't.
Oh, HemTube's Household Chores. Oh, wow, this is actually good.
That's a great Vine. I was like, this absolutely should have won Vine or whatever the fuck it was.
But the Laughing Fox was it. Oh, I have seen this on many a Vine compilation. It's a good Vine because it's funny and you go, wow, that's what a fox sounds like when it laughs. It's a good little GIF, but the
creativity of it,
craftsmanship in it has a lot to be desired.
Exactly. So, it's my biggest regret in life is I didn't win.
Oh shit! It was the final Shorty Award for Vine of the Year because this was the last year of Vine. Wow!
It was my last chance to have make any sort of mark with my my Vine career.
I'm sorry it didn't work out.
Everything was downhill from there. So, it's interesting hearing that you didn't know or watch any of my stuff before then. Was it just because we had met? You're like, okay, let's see what this guy's about. Was it that sort of thing?
No, it wasn't even. Because I didn't seek you out. You would just come up because I guess I watched a lot of video game things, and it was like, you must like this guy.
Yeah.
But the thumbnail was always your face and not a game, and so I was like, why do I don't want to watch this. I want to see some cool Slay the Spire content or something.
Sure.
But then one day I was like, okay, fine, YouTube, and then it was good. It's fun because you can watch a whole lot of your stuff real fast.
Yeah.
Unless it's a video of you eating stuff, which in case there's a lot of content to go through.
Sure.
I have a question.
What's up?
This when I looked up your because I was going to we went on a road trip to a national park, and I was like, well, time for some podcasts. And then I found yours. You have this is the second life of this podcast.
It is.
It started over again. What was the first life all about?
That was a couple years ago, and the format of that was it was like I would have people on, and then it would switch between me, Anne Marie, and my friend Alex, and then a guest or whatever. But it went for a while, and then it kind of at the time also I was editing it, and I was like, I'm sick of editing these, so I stopped. I very recently, shout out to Jay, hired an editor. I went for years editing all my stuff on my own. And only like 2 months ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to hire an editor. Because why not pay somebody to do the shit I don't like doing? It's been a huge help. And as a result, I was like, okay, now that actually I haven't talked about this.
More stuff.
I haven't talked about this maybe, and I won't say with who. There was supposed to be before COVID a podcast deal where a company was going to produce a podcast for me with full video, a crew, and everything.
Video podcast.
It was going to be a video. You could get the audio version too, but it was going to be filmed, like actually filmed with a crew. And then COVID happened, and then it completely just didn't happen. We were literally. I think we had just had like the meeting in March. Okay, we've pretty much got everything settled, and looking forward to potentially shooting in April. And then this happened, and then everything went to shit. But
in the back of your head, you were like, a podcast would be fun.
Well, I think in my mind, the idea of a podcast was always fun because, it's just fun to like talk to people and people get a kick out of it. But I hate editing it. But then when I hired my editor, Jay, I was like, now I can like bring back things. Well, first off, I got like official notification that whole thing is dead. It's not happening. And I was like, okay.
Oh, okay.
That's not happening? Cool.
So now
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this myself then. It's not going to be filmed. It's going to be very casual, but it's going to be fun. And it's actually been extremely fun. Like, I've had a great time, like, getting to know people I, like, didn't know that well. And then, like, oftentimes with people I do know, it's just fun to talk to them because they're my friends. But also sometimes things come up where it's like, yeah, we've never talked about this before. Like even in this one, we've never. I don't think we've ever like asked like, oh, how was this, or like, how long are your we don't really talk about that often.
That's true. Yeah, we're usually discussing the rules of the board game that we're about to play.
Right. So it's fun, and I decided to do it, and maybe like, and this is the version 2.0, and I decided, okay, in this version, I'm just gonna have like no like recurring co-hosts, just like different guests each time. And then as my plan for it is, as time goes on, and I mentioned this to you before the podcast, I would like to have people on back and just like, hey, like this time I'll have Ray and so, or this person and this person, and we'll talk about this topic, or hey, I just want to see what it's like with these three people,
exactly
talking. It's just an excuse. Like, I don't listen to as many podcasts as I did before, but when I did, I was always like, man, it would be so cool because some of these podcasts have been going for hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and it's like it would be cool to have a record of
my god, I know exactly what you're talking
about. Right?
Yes.
So it's like,
and go back and be like, this was my life in 2024.
5 years from now or whatever, I can listen
before
back
the explosion.
Yeah, I can listen back to before the second COVID. Oh god, let's not bring that up. By the way, I can go back to this time and hey, this is when me and Ray what were we talking about back then? Oh shit, we were talking about this and he was referring to this, or just like things like that. It's cool to have like sort of a history, and because I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but the people who keep journals, I'm like, I wish I had the patience to like keep a journal, because having a log of what you did every day or whatever, that's so cool. I used to have that with LiveJournal back in the day, right? I would like, I can see like, I had a real angry, angsty day on 2003. This day, like it's whereas as an adult, it's like, man, there are weeks of my life I I don't know.
It's hard because you start to lose track of what a year is.
Exactly.
As an adult, where you're like, what was the difference between 2017 and 2018? I don't remember exactly what I was doing.
Right.
And that sucks that you lose a year.
Yeah.
But if you can go back and listen to stuff, you know what I actually started doing?
What's up?
My goal is to do by the end of this year, because we all take pictures with these newfangled inventions called the cellular phone.
Sure.
And they all go into Mr. Cloud, and you don't look at them ever. Maybe to do a post.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to post about the thing that I did. But, like, I realized I had 10 years of Google Photos just hanging out there that I'd never looked at and gone through. So what I'm doing is I'm going through every single photo, deleting, culling all the bad ones, and then I'm going to print all of them out and then delete them off the cloud.
Wow.
So that way I have just an old-fashioned but one that I'll actually look at photo album where it's like, this was my decade. This was all the things that happened. I just think that's because when they're on the cloud, I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself. But do you go into Google Photos or Apple Photo and see what other years were?
The only version of this I do the only good thing about Facebook for me is that I can literally go and see every photo I'm in, or go back to photo albums or whatever. So in that case, I have gone through and scrolled through like memories or whatever. But
Gotcha.
It's still a clumsy way of doing it. Like,
and it has all of the photos rather than the good ones, which
yes, and so
was the thing for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's really fucking cool because I miss photo albums. Like,
yeah,
I love looking through like my family's old, me as a kid or whatever, and then after a certain point, after it was digital, and then phones now. People don't print photos anymore, only if it's like a really special occasion. But
there are some images that just make you really happy every time you see them, but they're not in front of you.
Right.
You have to remember to look for them. So Google does have a service. You can print them directly from the app. So I'm just going to just do it. Print like 500 and then be done and then say that's a decade. There you go.
Damn. And that's going to be... Are you going to put them in like a nice album, or are you just going to have them?
I'm going to throw them away.
In the fire, yeah.
I don't know. There is something nice about an album. There's also something nice about just stacks of photos. I like going through stacks. I don't know why. Probably Julia wouldn't like that very much, but I just like I like stacks of photos. I think they're fun.
It's like collectible cards of your life.
Yeah. And you don't know what the next one's gonna be. It's like you there's a fun there. Like with an album, you see like 8 or 10 at a time as you flip the page. But I like just going one after the other. It's kind of that's a lot of fun.
Okay. Now, one last thing. I'm gonna just let you. Is there any last topic you'd like to bring up, or a question for me, or anything you would like to do or ask as the final topic of conversation?
Was there any? I think I remember there was one. There was the thing that got a lot of likes from Twitter. It was the Final Fantasy question.
Something about a campfire.
Gotta at least do that. Campfire scene. What's the question? What was it like? What is it? Were you actually on fire?
Let me look it up for you.
You have not played Final Fantasy 15.
No, I have not yet.
I think it's actually a pretty damn good game.
Yeah. No, I hear it's fun.
Yeah.
Why are you in it or something? Or
I played. I was the narrator.
Got it.
I had a couple lines.
Let me find this question for you. Just I want to hear your thoughts on the campfire scene. It was impactful. I'd love to know more about what you have done to emotionally prepare to voice it, as well as how you felt it turned out in the final product.
Oh man, yeah. I think it turned out really, really well. So much of the credit goes to Keith Farley and Dan Inoue, who were director and writer respectively. that we recorded that game in order, which almost never happens.
Okay.
And like to be able to say goodbye when I was actually saying goodbye to everybody was really already emotionally impactful. Because that was my first. Final Fantasy was my first union video game where you're in a studio, because I did a lot of, Voice 1, 2, 3 video games and stuff like that.
That was your first union video game? Damn.
That was my first union video game.
You, no biggie. Just the lead in Final Fantasy.
It was wild. So like how I had Keith said this too, like he saw how the four of us changed over the 3 years that we were recording so much. I mean, there are so few opportunities in this industry where you get to work with the same people for years. And especially since me, Robbie, Adam, and Chris, none of us had had an experience like that before with something of that magnitude. And how nervous I was when I first started out, and so little that I knew even about the series. I grew up playing the wrong Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3. And so I was unfamiliar with the source material, and so I played all of the Final Fantasies as I worked on the role to be more familiar with it. How that changed my confidence with the character. My journey was very much like Noctis's, where I was growing up with him, and so it culminating in one amazing emotional scene is so rare for video games, and is so rare to have real vulnerability in a game, and not just kind of a lot of video games try to be movies, but they'll just paste on emotion. Yeah. Whereas I feel like what Final Fantasy did, you can say whatever you want about gameplay and stuff, that a lot of stuff was grafted on, but I think what it did organically was tell a real good organic story that resonated with people, and that's really hard to do with a video game. Is have that feeling of it happening in real time, and you can emote with the characters.
Yeah. How long was that? How long did it take to record that game?
I think 3 years in total. I think it was about 2 years. I mean, there's so many stories I could tell. There was the demo, which was about 5 sessions or so, and then I was asked to be recast because I sounded too much like Gladio, and Keith Farley went to bat for me, which never happens in this industry. That they say,
"Oh, you were almost recast."
Re-audition.
Wow.
Yeah, I was. I had a much deeper voice because we didn't know exactly how old or how badass Noctis was going to be. So we did like a higher pitched voice, and then we were like, no, let's do the more Duke Nukem-y voice. And then it ended up just sounding like Gladio, and so Japan said, please find a new actor.
Wow.
And Keith said, no, Ray can absolutely do a younger voice. Give him a shot.
Yeah.
And so it was a month-long recasting, re-auditioning process where I was just absolutely crestfallen.
Damn.
Because I was in Fallout 4 as a pretty big character, and that one I had my character was cut, and I found out that same month from the director that you're not going to be in Fallout 4. And I was like, what? I lost everything. So that just the most gratitude for Keith being able to re-audition. It never ever happens.
Yeah, no, that's quite a gesture. That is very kind.
And that, I guess the reason I was talking about that was about a year of doing the demo and then re-auditioning, and then we worked on the game proper for a year straight, and then the game came out, and then we had about a year.
Oh, that's DLC.
Yeah, lots of DLC for that game, and lots of random Assassin's Creed DLC.
You're in You're in a fighting game. Which one is it? Is it Tekken?
Oh, I'm not in that Tekken. I'm not in it. It's Japanese only.
Oh, what?
Alas. Yeah, it sucks.
That's bullshit. All right.
It is. It's very sad. But yeah, lots of crossover stuff. Lots of random one-off promotional things. Like I did an Uber ad. There was a trailer which showed the world of EOS. in Ubers when they took over Seattle for some gaming convention. And they had me re-record some stuff for that trailer that played in the taxi cab. So like lots of random little things, which was really, really fun. But it had to end sometime, and it ended with the Final Fantasy XIV crossover where my wife got to play Gerudo, which was awesome. My very last session was with her.
That's nice.
That was the best thing ever, yeah.
Damn. First union video game job, and it's fucking Noctis.
Yes, yeah, but so many things happened in between.
Sure,
so long, yeah.
But I mean,
and I might have been actually. I have this open because I just updated it. Let me see what my actual one is. Here's all of the work that I've ever done, all in one. I have one Google Drive spreadsheet called Quest, and it's everything. It starts in 2011.
Wait. I'm sorry. What do you mean Quest? This is your own personal document?
This is my own. I made this document, I guess, in March of 2011, where I keep track of every single session, every single unique session that I do. Not every session that I do, but every
role every job you've done.
Every role, every job, who cast me, who the director was, who the engineer was, who was in on it, where the production, all that sort of stuff. Because that stuff really, it comes back. Like it's like sometimes you want to remember, oh, what did we work together on this? And then you find out that you did, and you can go back. So it was not my first union session, but wait a minute, hold on a second.
I think this is a great thing to end on have you talked about this document before? Do people?
I think I've talked about it.
Okay.
Rarely have I had it in front of me so I could immediately answer questions.
Yeah.
Like Oceanhorn was in 2013. That was a Voice 123 that I got to be union, but I did on my home studio. Well, look at this. I mean, this is the weird thing.
Yeah.
Here's a great thing to end on.
Sure.
Is this a good thing to end on?
Well, what's up?
I don't know. One of the weirdest sessions that I ever did. This was my first one, 2013. Fallout 4 was 2014. Final Fantasy 15 demo was October 13th, 2014. So yeah, this is almost the same year. But this was for Star Wars: The Old Republic. I was pitched from my agent. They needed a young guy to play the role of Red 2.
Okay.
In this like trailer where they were announcing new stuff for it. I don't know anything about Star Wars: The Old Republic, but it was it's crazy. It's the craziest session ever. It was at like Lime Studios or someplace fancy in Santa Monica, and it was a group record, which for video games never happened.
Right.
And I was even more awkward looking than I am now. And the people I walked in on, I didn't know any of them, but they were all really comfortable with each other and like knew each other. And now I know it's like, that's just what happens when you know people for so long. Sure. But they were like talking up and just so comfortable and cracking jokes and asking about their kids and who knows. And it was a stacked room. I sat next to a man named Troysifer Baker. He sat next to a man named J.B. Blanc.
Wow.
He sat next to a lady named Cree Summers, and the director was Dara O'Farrell.
Okay.
Which was insane. And I did a horrible job, and I was very awkward, and I didn't talk to anybody. And it was absolutely a travesty of a session.
Oh, no.
But that was my very first in-person union big deal thing.
Okay.
For a trailer for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and it went really badly for me. And I didn't work with. Let's see when the next time I worked with Dara was. Let's go and go all the way to a game called Sekiro. That filmed in 2018. That was 5 years later.
So here's the thing. I think this is a great way to end, or like kind of like touch on
my career.
No. Because look at how far you've come, man.
Yes,
That's the
yes.
thing.
Now I do lots of sessions with JB Blanc. It's great.
It's like
he's I work with him a lot on stuff. He's fantastic.
yeah, like you know, in going in, I when I went into my first union thing, I was terrified. I was like, I'm gonna fuck it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna completely fuck it up. And so, like, you know, now, you know, seeing where you've come, like that's a great, and I love that you have this document. Like,
this document has saved my life. I highly recommend to anyone going into voice acting, keep track of who cast you and stuff, so you can thank them. Keep track of what the engineer's name was, because you'll work with all of them all over again.
Yes.
It's really, really good. I even have it color-coded, whether it's a video game or anime or promo, all sorts of stuff. And then you can really see, like, sometimes things take a long time, and it helps because there sure are a lot of things that have never come out, and you look at it and go, oh, yeah, I worked on that for a long time, and it's just never coming out. Oh, well.
Yeah. And I mean, that's actually really good advice. And, you know, we were talking about something earlier where, you know, I think a lot of voice actors forget a lot of the roles they've done, but you literally have a document to make sure you don't do that. That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
Man, I love that. Well, thank you very much for joining me, man. This was great. I definitely want to have you back on in the future. Where can people find you?
You can find me at Ray Chase on Twitter, and that's about it.
Cool.
I don't have much else.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thanks, ProZD.
Okay, fuck you.